once you kind of recognize your weaknesses, your insecurities, most people at that moment in time, they distract themselves. They go back to what's comfortable.
How we doing, fellas?
Good, Shawn.
Doing
good?
good?
To see you, bro.
Yes,
Good to
sir.
see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you, brother.
You guys want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Let everybody know who you guys are.
Yeah, you want to rip it?
Yeah. Well, my name is Jackie. Am I looking at the cameras? Looking at you?
No, but let's have a conversation.
Yeah. Well, I'm Jackie. I grew up in LA, and kind of just like throughout my childhood and throughout my upbringing, I think I was very focused on entrepreneurship, trying to like build a business, learn from my parents, and I think that that was the path that I set myself on for a long time, because my definition of success was largely based on that premise of like business success or monetary success.
Right.
And
Well, can you pause for 1 second?
Yes.
Let me give the people a little bit of context first, because they're just going right into business.
Yeah.
They don't know our connection. So, not long ago, we'll say a couple months ago, I showed up to a Friday morning Fleet Feet run in Austin, Texas. The running community is very big. It's very vibrant, and so I show up one morning to a Fleet Feet run, and I was just getting back into the running world, and I met these two gentlemen, and they started telling me about this trip that they do to the Gobi Desert, and they're actually getting ready to go back there, and they're telling me that they run the Gobi Desert. And so any type of story like that usually catches my attention when you're going to add in an extreme aspect to it. So I'm like, holy fuck, these dudes are running the desert in China. And then they pulled out their phone and they told me how they were videographers, and they showed me a video. In the video they showed me, there was a gentleman, and I might be messing this up, but there was a gentleman in a wheelchair.
Yep.
And I think he was coming it seemed like under the impression that he was going to be able to do this race. And then it seemed like, I don't know if it was his tires, but it wasn't going to happen. And so the video you guys showed me was y'all literally pushing and pulling this man through the Gobi Desert so he could do the race with you.
Yep.
And it's getting me choked up right now in this moment, even thinking about it, because as soon as I saw that, I was like, these are my type of fucking people right here. They get down like I get down. So that is what brought us together. And so we started running together, getting to know each other a little bit better, and then started to quickly realize through our other mutual friend, Trip, that we were very aligned with what we're trying to do in the community, what we're trying to do in this world, what we're trying to do for each other and for ourselves. And so I got introduced to the Pro Friction boys. And from there, I will let you go continue. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. And just to kind of round out that story of what we did in the desert, I think it speaks more broadly to who we are as people and what we're trying to inspire. It's more so the idea that you become strong, you grow, and you develop yourself, because at some point in time, you may need to help someone else who may be in more need than you, or who might be suffering more than you. And so if we can utilize our strength and our learning and our personal development to then help people, then that becomes a very worthy mission to be a part of. And so Alex and I, we founded Pro Friction. Oh, sorry, I hit the mic. Pro Friction, and essentially it's a breakdown of two key words, right? It's friction, it's resistance that you feel when you're trying to grow, when you're trying to overcome a challenge, when you're trying to learn something new. We all experience friction in our own unique ways. And friction, resistance is something that it's human nature to struggle and to avoid resistance. But we're trying to help people realize that not only should you do it, but if you do it with community, if you grow from it, that you become so much stronger that then you have the assets to go and help people. And so that's the community that we built. And I know that me and Alex kind of arrived at this project from very different paths, but ultimately, like you're saying, we meet people who align with that mindset. And that's the beauty of having met you in Austin and having met so many other people as well.
Right. Yeah, dude, it's a special thing, because I think not everybody operates like that. And I operate like that. And I think there's often times where I'll feel like I'm crazy or I'm alone in the world, because other people don't operate like that. And so when I met you guys and you guys did it, it's like, holy shit, like we could do something pretty fucking special.
Yeah.
And so pretty quickly, like you guys start telling me about the things you're working on. I start telling you about the things in my world. And the next thing you know, we end up going to do some pretty dope shit.
Yeah.
You just gave me a little bit of background about you. So how did you guys end up linking up? How did you guys meet?
Yeah, it's kind of a random story. We're such good friends that everybody thinks we met like in college, but we actually didn't meet until our first job in Boston.
Okay.
So I met Jackie on our first day of work.
25.
It's a fucking hell of a leap of faith to take
Yeah.
at 25, dude.
Well, for
Yeah.
you, when you left that previous path, did you do it alone? Like, did you have a plan? Like, where was your head at when you quit?
I realized where I was at, I was just stagnant and I wasn't growing, and I wasn't around the type of people I personally need to be around. I was around good people. Not saying they're not good people, but they were just comfortable where they're at in life. And I had like a little mental health dip. I went and did a workout with a dude, and was around a group of guys, and fucking they just got down like you guys get down. And it was like that camaraderie came back. And I remember asking the dude, I was like, hey bro, I'm running a Spartan this weekend, you want to run it? He was like, fuck yeah. Like, he didn't even hesitate. And I was like, this is the energy I needed.
Yeah.
The type of people that say, hey, you want to go to the fucking Gobi Desert? Or the type of people that don't blink when I'm like, do you want to run at 5 a.m.?
Yeah.
Things like that. Like, that's the energy I need, because I need to keep people around me that make me uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Because it'll get to my insecurity, and then that's what makes me realize I have to perform. I have to go harder. And so I need to be around people like that, because this probably whole maybe year and a half of my life was a great year and a half of my life, but I wasn't great because I didn't have that. You know what I mean? So that's where I was. Where were you guys at?
I think a big part of it was, number one, like, we had each other, and I think that bond gave us a lot of confidence. And personally, like, I believe in Alex 100%, right? Like, I wouldn't have made this decision if I didn't put my faith in Alex, that together we could build something bigger than ourselves, right? The sum of the parts is greater than the whole. And I think that was a very core part of what we believed in, and what ultimately gave us the strength to make that leap of faith. But also, I think during that time when we were working together, we spent a lot of time like reading, listening to podcasts, learning, because we didn't necessarily have an idea of our own yet, but we just knew that if we learned more about stories of the history of entrepreneurship, right? And David Senra, Founders Podcast, was a big part of our connection and our growth. But just learning from these stories of other founders who have taken bigger risks with much less resources, much less of a safety net. We look at all these things, it's like people are trying with less. So what's our excuse? And I think the process of like learning and listening to podcasts and like trying to understand the stories of people in the past who have made great accomplishments with their life, it puts into perspective that, like, yeah, 22 years old at the time when we were working, that's like, why not try? And I think there was always this like bug or this like idea or this like instinct that was calling us to like go try. And we didn't have an idea. We didn't have a plan. Pro Friction wasn't even the words or the name or the idea wasn't even born yet. But it was more so the passion to create impact, to help people. And just starting from that place was like all we had, and we we made some drastic decisions from that. But I think a big part of it was, again, the confidence that we had in each other.
I was having a conversation with my buddy yesterday. He's a musician, and he raps. And he was sitting there and he was talking about, he's like, bro, it's cool when you're growing up to be a rapper. You sit around, freestyle with your friends, smoke a blunt and all that. He's like, when you turn 30, it's not fucking cool anymore. Yep. People are looking at you thinking you're crazy and stuff like that.
Yep.
And so we were talking about people that, in our cases, I'm talking about people that choose like an ulterior mode to employment. You know what I mean? If I'm going to go be a rapper, I'm going to go be a podcaster. It's not your traditional, like, I'm going to go be an architect, 9 to 5, something like that. But I think there's passion involved in it, right? You're never going to take that leap of faith unless it's something you're fucking passionate about. And I think, in my opinion, like, I think there needs to be that. I see people that do jobs like that and they'll like have a job. You know what I mean? You'll hear comedians talk about it all the time. Like, you want to go do stand-up, you got to take that leap of faith and go out on the road and go do stand-up.
All the time.
Because it has to fucking work. And so that's what I did on purpose in January. Like, this has to fucking work. This is what I'm doing. And with your guys' company and everything you're saying, it's so aligned with your passion, with who you are, within the name of what you guys believe in and everything like that. Like, that's when I think you do make that leap of faith, because if it's something you're passionate about, there's nobody that's going to work harder at it than you to build your own thing. And that's what's been so special for me, like at 41, where it's like I finally just got to this point in my life where I've gotten the confidence and the experience to know, like, I'm done building for other people. I'm going to build for myself, or I'm going to build with people. We're going to build together, because I'm not building for you anymore. I'm not going to make you any more money, or you do this, because if I make money, it's going to go to what I believe in, not what you think. So
yeah, man, I think it says a lot about your character. I think that when 24 hours after you quit, you had so much confidence and excitement. I remember the 24 hours after we quit, and like I woke up terrified. I was like, what did I do? What decision did we just make? How are we going to make this go forward? You know, because I think,
And you guys are educated too, so
yeah,
I'm assuming you guys probably left pretty good jobs.
yeah, we left good jobs. And I think, you know, what comes with that though is like the expectation of society. You know, I think like, you know, my friends, my family, everyone who had seen me grow up, you know, growing up, like expected me to have a good job and to have a stable identity and to not do anything crazy, you know, to not throw things away, so to speak. But I think you have to follow passion. And I think you have to be bold enough to follow passion. And I think all those insecurities that I had about doing so, 24 hours after we quit, that's when they all came.
Okay.
And it hit me like a wall of like, am I, you know, smart enough to do this? Am I, you know, charismatic enough to do this? Is this the right decision? All of those things just kind of bubbled up at once. So I feel like it says a lot about your character that you were confident in that moment.
Yeah. Well, it was like the world opened up.
Yeah.
It was like, now I do what I want to do. You know what I mean? I don't want it to sound like that, but now it's like what I feel is important, the way I need to build it. And it was like the world opened up where it's like, I don't have these parameters on me anymore where somebody's telling me what I have to do or this. It's like, no, if I want to build it, I'll build it. It was just a very empowering feeling. So it was the first time I had done anything like that in my life and got excited about it. So it's it was big.
And may be helpful to talk about what Pro Friction does. And I think what we do, what we believe in, and some of the upcoming projects that we have going on as well. So Pro Friction is started off as something that we wanted to build to inspire people to embrace discomfort. So we feel that discomfort is the way to grow. Like you were saying, it's like once you kind of recognize your weaknesses, your insecurities, then most people at that moment in time, they distract themselves. They go back to what's comfortable. But if at that very moment in time, you know, you recognize that, yeah, I'm not a good runner and running is painful. It brings me a lot of anxiety. The idea of running 2 miles, a marathon, like all these things are incomprehensible, but you do it anyways.
Mm-hmm.
That is where the growth takes place.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the founding philosophy or the origin of like kind of what our thought process is. So we began kind of experimenting with different ways to bring that out of people. How do we build something that can help people embrace more discomfort and do it in a way that is like inviting, that's like helpful and actually can make impact. So
can I ask you real quick? I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because it's like we'll tell people what Pro Friction is, but I want them to believe in it. So like, where did you come up with the idea? What was the initial like? This is what we want to do.
Yeah. I mean,
where'd that inspiration come from? Like, because to do it, to set this up as a business is one thing, but to set this up as like, I want to help people. I don't want it to cost it anything. I want it to, you know what I mean? Like the way you guys set it up is very different. So like, where did that come from? The inspiration?
Yeah. Well, you know, I feel like it's funny because like as he's saying that, it became so clear to me just now. Like, we came up with Pro Friction because it's what we needed. Like, as soon as we quit, we had so much insecurity and doubt. And we were in this moment of like extreme discomfort. Every time I woke up, I was like, what am I doing with my life? But what we noticed is one, we had each other and that made us stronger. So we're like, okay, there's something about community that's essential. And then two, it's like, if we view this as just a hurdle and if we get over this hurdle, we know that we're going to have so much growth on the other side of that.
Yep.
It's like, okay, so all we need to do is embrace this discomfort and then just keep pushing through. Go to the whiteboard, figure out what are we interested in, what are we passionate about, and just kind of keep moving forward. So I feel like Pro Friction was really our response, I think, to what we were facing internally. And I think that's what's allowed us to help so many other people is like, hey, we know exactly where you're at. We know what it feels like to be in extreme discomfort. We know what it feels like to be out of your comfort zone, to be scared, to be nervous, to have anxiety. You know, that's all the things that we faced. So I think it's pretty interesting.
Is that work? So your inner drive to help people because, you know what I mean? Like, it's a selfless thing. Most people aren't like that. You know what I mean? Like, I had it completely transform my life. That's why I'm so passionate about it. What is it for you guys? Like, what is it that's inside you that says, like, I want to dedicate my life to helping people? That's what I want my business to do.
Yeah.
Because most people are like, I want to make some fucking money.
Yeah.
I think for me personally, it comes a lot from my mom. Growing up, my mom has always been very focused on, like, making sure that we're going to volunteer like once a month at least. And she was really big in the nonprofit space and she was successful in corporate as well. She worked for a big utility company back at home. And but I think her focus was very big on nonprofits, taking me and my brother to go to food banks, volunteering, helping people. Everywhere we go, she's always advocating, like, if we see a homeless person, it's like, okay, go help him, go find some way to contribute. And I think that was very ingrained in my DNA. And I think, like, going back to the very first story of, like, the different motives that I had growing up, it's like I had this drive to be successful in business, to go to a good university, to get a good degree, to get a good job after college, which is like where we met. But I also had this secondary drive that was much more powerful, but I never really gave it the attention that it deserved, because I always kind of suppressed it, because helping people wouldn't give me the glamour that this other drive was telling me to go do. But I think that drive, ultimately, that the drive to help people started to gain more strength when I started to work on myself. Mm-hmm. So I started going to the gym. In college, I think I was a pretty insecure individual. Like in high school, growing up, I always struggled with just like self-confidence. The ability to stand in front of a group would make me super nervous, which I think for some people would be surprising, because I did a lot of like speech and debate, was like all, kind of involved with different organizations. But internally, it drove me insane because I didn't have confidence. I was able to create a facade and fake it, but internally I didn't have it. And so the process of building myself up was largely a result of fitness. I started running, going to the gym consistently, and over time I started building this like really disciplined regimen. And the key word is that it was gradual. But I think that the process of gradually improving my fitness and my mental health ultimately led me to a place of having so much internal confidence that I felt that was something that I needed to share with people, that like more people need to experience that, and maybe I can build something that can help inspire to do that. So that's kind of like my personal path of how we got here.
Yeah. Hold on. We'll have to cut this out, but what are we going to do? Like, he was talking the whole time and everyone kept walking in front of the camera. What do we do? Are we going to be able to get it from another shot?
We'll have to cut the reaction, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Keep going.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's yeah. But I know Alex has his own like reasons in his story too. So, but that's kind of a little bit about my background.
Good shit.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's a combination of like my family did foster care growing up, so from my earliest memories, like I was like 4 years old taking care of like a 1-year-old. So I think like, and I'm so grateful for it. Like I think that's the coolest thing that my parents ever did for me and my sister is like, from the moment we were born helping others, and got to witness our parents do that too. And I think if you know anything about the foster care system, I think it's a brutal system, and it's really rough. So I don't want to say that it was an amazing thing, but I think we really, changed some kids' lives, and I think they changed my life as well. So I think it's a combination of that and then just faith, we grew up going to church, and it was just kind of all about service and giving back to others. But I think because I got to see that at home and how my parents gave to, the kids that came through our house, no matter whether they were there, some kids were there for a day, some kids were there for an hour, right. Some kids were there for a year, 2 years. But you got to love them all the same. And I think like learning how to do that just like gave me such an appreciation for A, what I have, and B, what I want to give. Yeah. So, yeah.
I remember I was probably in high school, and my little sister was maybe 1 or 2, and my mom she started a summer program called National Youth Sports Program, and so it would bring kids from the inner city and bring them onto college campuses where they could use the facilities and learn the fundamentals of how to dribble a basketball or all the different stuff. And so she ended up, there was this girl there that she basically had fallen in love with, that was in the foster care system, and so she adopted her, and that shit lasted about a week. She like locked herself in the room with my sister, and my sister was screaming, and it was like all types of weird shit. And so we couldn't end up keeping her, but it's just like you think about that, and like, obviously we have to protect my little sister and everything like that, but it's like you think about the kids being shuffled and stuff, and it's you start understanding how important it is for foundation as a kid and what it does to them and stuff like that. The guest we had in here, one of our last guests, he fosters babies. Him and his wife foster babies coming off of drugs, so that are born addicted.
Wow.
And so they have to like sit there in the room They put them in a room like in an incubator, and they can't be touched for 30 days.
Oh my goodness.
Like a small baby not being
Yeah.
able to be touched, and they're
Yeah.
just sitting there, and he's talking about their skin just basically coming off as they're just sitting there fucking going through these withdrawals. It's so bad as this baby.
Wow.
Bro, it sat there. I was like, as a drug addict, I was like, I didn't even think or know this is going on.
Yeah.
But dude, that's in the foster care system. That shit happens every day.
Yeah.
So it's tough. So the fact your family did that is fucking incredible.
Yeah, man, it's brutal, but I think it gives you so much perspective. And I think it's such a double-edged sword because, you know, you love helping the kids you help, but every kid you help, you think about the kid that you couldn't help, you know? So it's like the more kids that we brought into the house, it just only gave you a greater appreciation for how many kids out there. And,
Yeah.
you know, I think everyone comes in with just a different background, you know, and you got to kind of figure out where they've been and, you know, how that's affected them. And then you've got to try to give them as much love as you can in the time that you have them for. And then you also have to get really comfortable like saying goodbye.
Yeah.
Because you never really know when goodbye is going to happen. And I think that really brought my family super close as well. We learned to cherish the relationships we had with each other too. So I'm very thankful for it, but
Funny
it's
how
something
that-
I hope I get to do when I get a little bit older.
Good.
Yeah.
It's funny how God works. Teaches
It
you
is.
those lessons.
Teaches you those lessons, and I think like, you know, I just hope that I get to apply those lessons as much as possible. I think it's easy to, you know, learn a lesson and then just kind of move on from it, you know. So I feel like it's very interesting that the path that we took, you know, as Jackie was saying, kind of going down this, you know, and I won't call it like selfish, you know, to try to go out and to achieve in society. I think that's, you know, I understand it totally makes sense. I mean, that's the path that we were on. And it's a path I think, you know, everyone will still be on. But if you can have an attitude towards service and like Jackie said, like not forget about that voice in the back of your head that says, hey, help others. You know, I'm just grateful for this time that we've had, you know, building Pro Friction, that we get to devote some serious attention to helping others.
Yeah.
You know, and hopefully we, you know, can continue making an impact. But
Well, can we talk about the games?
let's talk about the
Right.
games.
Talk about the
Yeah.
games.
So
Let's talk about the games.
we're on a ruck march one day, and you guys start telling me about this idea, and you tell
Yeah.
me about the you guys are thinking of, and
Yeah.
as soon as you guys start talking it, signals start going off in my head. I was like, I'd love to bring that to the recovery community,
Yep.
because that was the biggest thing for me getting sober. It's like you get sober and people think of the boxes they got to check. I got to go get a job. They're lonely. They want to go get a girl or a dude. They got to get a place to live. They got to get a car. They got to get all these things back. And that's where their primary drive and focus is, right? But at the end of the day, none of that stuff kept us sober before. It's necessities. You need that stuff, but it's not going to keep you sober. But that's what everybody's primary focus is. And the one thing that I've known and what running taught me was when I got sober, it's like I put a tremendous amount of energy into the hustle of getting high every day. Still had it when I got sober. Running helped me take care of that.
Yeah.
And so being able to find these healthy outlets, and we're blessed to live in Austin, Texas, where there is so much shit to do.
Everywhere.
We were running at Town Lake on Saturday morning, and I was with a couple guys in early recovery, and every 2 seconds their heads turning around at all the people. And I'm like, you guys want to talk about there ain't nothing to do here in Austin. You guys are crazy. Come down to Town Lake.
Yep.
But so to try to build a community, to have events, to have these cool ass things that we can go do, and to get people to understand, it's like recovery does not have to be boring. Fucking just because you're sober, it doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like that. So
Yep.
you tell me about this idea, and then I went and talked to the lovely people and Mike Smeltzer at The Last Resort.
Yes.
And we got to kick off the first ever I Am Redemption games. I was so fucking honored to do it with you guys. People keep hitting me up about they want to know where the videos are.
Yeah.
They want to see
More
episode
videos.
3 and episode 4.
We'll push them out.
But what was your guys's, on your guys' side, what was it like for you guys coming up with the concepts? Where did you guys came up with the idea for Pro Friction, but where did the games come into play? Where did we decide, like, this is what we're going to do?
Yeah. And before I answer that, I also have to say, like, this is why the work that you do, I think, is so important and so critical, because we had this idea to do some games and to make fitness a little bit more fun, to make it more approachable, to get people into that life. But we had no idea about bringing it to the recovery community. And because you devote your time to being an advocate and to finding those opportunities and to networking and to meeting people, you completely put that on our radar. And I think it was a perfect fit for the offering that we had and the community that you were able to bring. So I got to highlight that as well, because I think it's so important to like represent those communities that you know about and try to make those partnerships and connections, because completely not on our radar.
Right.
So, but yeah, I
Bro,
mean,
we're just getting started. I got so many more. So keep going.
but yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I think we were always talking about in Pro Friction, right? Like what we want to do is, give people some obstacles that they can, try to overcome and use that as an opportunity to get pushed through discomfort, right? And then obviously achieve growth from that.
Right.
And so fitness is just like an easy way because fitness just sucks. Most of the time, fitness just sucks. It's hard. Going for a ruck, going for a run, it's
And
difficult.
when we're saying fitness, don't think lifting weights. Like that is not.
Yeah, no.
I lift weights every day. Like lifting weights is hard. It ain't fitness.
No, it ain't fitness. Like we're talking about, kind of just the true suck.
Yeah. Holding
Um,
weight for a really long time, heart about to explode, can't catch your breath. Yeah.
Yeah,
Fitness.
getting dizzy fitness. And so it's like, but obviously you say that and nobody's gonna sign up for it, right? And the people who aren't gonna sign up are the people who need it the most.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, we got to figure out a way to package that suck and that nastiness of fitness in a way where people are gonna say, oh, you know what? Let me try that. Let me try to do that. And so, I was watching Survivor, the TV show, and, on Survivor, they put people on this island and they put them through these like crazy challenges, obstacle courses, what have you, make them work together as a team, which always causes some drama. And then it's really like physically exhausting. And I was like, I feel like we could take that, kind of scale it down and use that as an opportunity to give people some friction that they could overcome. And so I told Jackie, I was like, hey, I got this like crazy idea. Like, you ever seen Survivor? And he was like, absolutely not. And so, I like pitched him the idea and like, I think it speaks to our friendship that he was willing to like go down that rabbit hole with me because it was kind of an absurd concept. And then we started talking to you about it, like, hey, like what if we get these guys, we put them in weighted backpacks, we make them move some sand, we give them a truly physically exhaustive experience, one that will bond them together as a group, but ultimately one that will suck and will force them to kind of overcome that obstacle. And so I think that's kind of where the idea came from.
And for people, like, this is my POV.
Remind me to tell you about the after effects of this, but go ahead. Don't let me forget, all right?
Yeah, this is my POV as someone who hasn't watched Survivor before. Like, I don't know what he's talking about. When he's talking about games and he's talking about like obstacle courses, I'm thinking like Ninja Warrior. I'm thinking like large sets. And Alex, like, so he likes visuals. So he puts together like a PowerPoint presentation. And like,
you've seen what that looks like, by the way. It's bare bones.
Puts together a PowerPoint presentation. And it's not relevant for the story, but Alex is also colorblind. So like the visuals are also kind of just like a little bit like different.
I didn't know that.
So it's like different colors.
It always looks bad when I do stuff.
And it's like little stick figures with like rocks and then like a rope. And I'm like, this is the
your
plan.
business idea?
This is the business idea. And he's like,
future?
This is our future.
and this is like, but also like the nature of our partnership, like we always talk about, is it always goes back and forth, but it's like an architect and an engineer, right? You need both to have a successful project. So the role of the architect is to come with some lofty vision. Like they design, like let's say you're trying to build a table or a chair, and they want to be very unique with it and very creative with it. So they might make this chair like 3 legs and it like has a cone over here and it's a rectangle over here. But it's like, it's a beautiful thing, but the architect doesn't necessarily know if it'll stand, which is the job of a chair. And so the engineer comes along, and the beauty of a good partnership between an architect and an engineer is that the engineer won't just shoot it down right away. The engineer will look at that design and be like, you might have to scratch your head a couple times. You might have to look at it and be like, ooh, right? But they get to work. And they start figuring out, okay, well, if you really want this design to work, in its current state, it's not going to work. But if you add this pillar here, you add this column here, you support it here, then it might work. And you still don't know, but then you just start working at it, and then the vision becomes a reality. And I think that is the beauty of our partnership, is that neither of us are the architect or the engineer all the time. Is that we always come to the table with ideas, and we both allow the idea we present it, and then the other person will typically, you have to sit up a little bit, look at it, examine it, but then ultimately we try to make it work. And so in this case, one of the issues that we've always struggled with was like having community, having the participants show up. We can come up with creative games all day long, but to have people want to participate and to have that other side of like they want to participate, they're going to get really involved in it, to have someone like you lead it and connect not only the games but to the larger meaning of it, that piece was always missing. So that's kind of like where this was a perfect partnership. When
Yeah.
you talked about, I have this community that would love to participate in some type of adult field day, in some type of fitness activity that would challenge people and help them grow. It's like, oh, perfect. You have the community. We have the creative ideas. Like, let's put two and two
Right.
together. And that's
And you guys even went so far to even make it themed, where there was 6 games, and every game was represented 2 of the 12 steps, which was fucking just give me goosebumps in a way. Fucking, it was really cool to do.
Yeah, I mean, that was your idea. You know, can we get the 12 steps
Yeah, but you
and
guys
use
made,
that as
you guys made it
an
happen. Though.
inspiration? Yeah,
Which
but
was-
that's what we love to do. Execute on good ideas.
Right.
You know?
Um, 2 of the gentlemen that were out there at the games are now out of treatment, and they came to their first run group this past
Fantastic.
Saturday.
Yeah.
They both ran their first over 4 miles ever. They were
go.
fucking
Let's go.
beaming smiles. Neither of them had
Let's go.
neither of them had running shoes. I sent them down to Fleet Feet. Fleet Feet took care of them, so they'll be back this Saturday to run in their
Amazing.
running their new shoes, dude. But that's the impact, dude. Like you go out there, and that's I'll say it when I go speak. It's like I might speak to 100 people. If one person comes up to me at the end and it had an impact, and it was all worth it. And so
Yep.
the fact that we went and did that, and we already got 2 guys coming out, and they're fucking not runners, and they're braving the Austin running community, dude. Like those are 2 lives that were just impacted there,
Yeah.
and the rest of them are on the way. So
Yeah. Yeah, and we're firm believers that like fitness changes lives. I think, and I think what it's done for both of us is it's allowed us to set a baseline for ourselves and say, okay, no matter what, because sometimes life happens, you just have a bad day, you have a rough day, things go wrong at work, like you're dealing with some emotions, but if you can set that baseline of, what, I'm going to do 25 push-ups today no matter what, and you allow yourself to kind of stack that win, and you show yourself that even on your worst day, you're going to take care of your body, and you're going to prioritize yourself to a certain extent. I think that's just so important. I think that has changed our life and allowed us to navigate, a lot of uncertainty and a lot of ups and downs in the roller coaster that's life. So, I mean, that's huge to hear.
Yeah. And to add to that, I think it's this journey, like, we talk about the impact, we talk about what we're building, but not to hide the fact that it's been really hard.
yeah,
There's a lot of it, like a lot of ups and downs, and this journey is like a roller coaster is maybe just, the analogy of it like describes it pretty well. And if there's one thing I can kind of look to as something that, like, undoubtedly, this is an area where I've grown in a positive way, it's been in health. And that's something that, like, no matter what the bank account may look like, no matter what the business looks like, and no matter what anything else looks like, something that this journey can't take, like, nobody could take away from me is that I'm now extremely healthy and I'm very fit. And I have confidence that if I'm ever put in a dangerous situation, I can kind of get myself out of it because I can either run, pull myself out of something. But the confidence in the fitness is something that and that's also something that is free, right? You can just do push-ups, you can do pull-ups, you can go for a run. These things are very accessible to anybody, that no matter what background you come from, no matter where you are, what your circumstances are, your health is something that you can control.
Yep.
Everything else, you can try to create a business, you can try to get a job. Those things are a little bit more, up in the air, I'd say. But fitness is something that undoubtedly you have full control over. And that's something that, like, has really impacted me. And again, like, we want to share that with more people. We want to say, like you might be lost in your career. You might not know what's going on with your life, but, like, just know that if you're healthy, that is one pillar that you can just have with you.
right, dude. Health is wealth. If you guys remember me talking when you guys were out, when I spoke at the treatment center before we did the games, one of the things I can remember saying is, like, if you're tired of feeling dead inside, because that's how, before I ever addressed and got in shape or started going to run, I felt fucking dead inside. Like, every day just felt like it just went past, and I just existed in the world. And somebody who doesn't know or isn't involved in fitness or running or the gym or anything like that, they might hear this and think I'm fucking crazy. But you talk to anybody who works out, anybody that runs, anybody that is about their fitness, and they will tell you it changed their fucking life.
Yeah.
And so many people, it's just they're normal to not do it. So they just think they're okay. But they have no idea the impact if they just implemented it just a little bit into their life, the improvements they'd have.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. It's like I just want to shake people.
Yeah.
There was I always
You're quite good at it.
Huh?
I said you're pretty good at it.
Right.
If anybody doubts your ability to motivate people or to speak to people and change lives through words, You took a group of 40 guys, some of whom have been sober for like a couple days, and you got them so fired up that they were willing to sign up for an experience that we just described as something that was going to be hard, difficult, physically demanding, and might be a little bit fun, just a little bit. And all of those guys said yes, just because you spoke. If anybody has any doubts at your ability to motivate people, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how many people decided to, because we didn't really, and credit to those 40 guys, credit to, the Last Resort facility, but we didn't give them we wanted it to be a little bit mysterious because we wanted them to kind of sign up for something that was going to be a little bit unknown, again, to embrace that discomfort. But we had no idea that many guys were going to be willing to take that leap. And, a large part of that is because of the Last Resort facility, all the people who work there, how great those people are, but also, your ability to speak to them.
Thank you.
Really, really cool. Yeah.
It's not a normal thing, dude. If you get a group of 60 guys all kicking drugs and stuff like that, like you talk about going to the gym, you might get 10, 15 guys that want to go. The rest don't give a shit. So the fact that we pretty much had that whole facility out there and that there was people that weren't even working that day showing up to see it and stuff like that, it's like, this is pretty fucking cool, man.
Let's talk about what the games were, and like, because I have so many little recollections of like people's reactions to it. Like I could hear people breathing heavy and like, cursing under their, it's like this sucks, right? But it's like, let's talk about kind of like what the games look like, and we can put some visuals over it as well so people can actually see.
Yeah, I definitely plan on adding in, when you see the clips, we'll have what the stuff we did for that. But who wants to explain?
Yeah.
Let's take a piece. We'll each take a piece of the race.
Yeah. You want me to start running through it?
Whatever you want.
All right.
Well, here, no, let me do it. You do
take the beginning.
Because I would
beginning's
easy.
I
won't say go. Well, no, because
no, it makes sense.
I feel like the middle part's the best part to explain.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do the puzzle at the end.
No, start off.
So anyways, everybody would line up the line. There's how many people on the team?
6.
There was 6 people on the team. They would start off in the starting line, and we basically had some stations. And picture some orange cones, picture some sandbags, and picture everybody in a weighted vest. And so they do a dead sprint down the field, and they get to a set of backpacks or their rucksacks that are on the ground. But the only thing is there's rope tied to them all, and they're all twisted apart. But then they're spread out almost like what you would it's like almost in a knot in the middle.
Yep.
So they all have to put these vests on, and then they have to figure out, using teamwork and communication, they don't know that that's what they need to use yet, but they come down there, and so their initial reaction is to run. They're racing, they got to go. And probably the most efficient thing would have been to slow their ass down and think, communicate, and act. But they get down there, and so they're hopping up over the rope and going up under and tangling more and all that. And so eventually, when they can finally get all that untangled, they realize they are still connected to another human being. So they're going to do the rest of this race connected by rope and their rucksacks to another human, and then they hop over to the islands, right? Or no. Then they run back up the field.
Yep.
Where they're going to go get a super heavy sandbag.
Super heavy.
And they're going to dual carry that back down the field to where then they get to the island. I don't know if that's what you guys call it, but that's what I'm calling it.
Yeah,
the lava.
The
volcano.
Basically
the volcano.
The lava river.
When you're a kid. Don't
Exactly, when you're a kid. Which, I think is also intentional. It's like when, no kid misses recess because recess is fun. But recess is also 30 to 45 minutes of just running and getting a physical, effort in. So I think it's also like, we use these games as a way of kind of unlocking that inner child and saying, hey, like, fitness is really, really hard. But if you decide to lean in and have fun with it, it can be great. But so, yeah, they basically get to the lava pit. They got to unzip their super heavy sandbags, and there's a bunch of smaller sand discs within those bags. They got to use those sand discs as basically rocks.
Now, if you don't know what a sand disc is, picture like a circle bean bag with heavy sand in it.
Heavy sand.
Heavy.
Like 30.
I don't know if other sands are heavy, but this is some heavy.
This is some heavy sand. 30 to 40 pounds. And so they got to use those basically as stepping stones. So they got to grab them, toss them to each other, pass them along this. By the end it was like 40 to 50 feet of space that they have to cover just by moving these super heavy sandbags as a team, kind of in a single file or double line. There's a bunch of different strategies that we saw going on, some more efficient than others. And they got to just basically work together to cross, from one side to the other.
Right.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part to watch.
Yeah.
That was good
That was
because
chaos.
because you would see guys, they'd throw down their little lily pads or whatever, and they'd get
Yeah.
down, and then one dude would fuck up, and then they'd all have to come back, and then picture as this is going on, you have 60 other guys sitting there yelling and cheering and
Yeah.
trying to mess with you. So it was pandemonium, but it was good pandemonium.
Yeah. The best kind.
Yeah.
I think what's also special about, and you were saying this earlier, it's like the intention for a competition, a race, people's adrenaline will naturally spike, right? It's like as soon as the game starts, you're sprinting as hard as you can, and everyone also had a lot of arrogance at the beginning of like, we were gonna be the first place team, every other team's gonna suck, and there was all this kind of like energy around like this like self-confidence. And I think what was great about the games is that it forced you to like play at a different pace. Like even though your adrenaline was really high, when you got to the lava river, people thought that it would be a walk in the park. They thought they could just throw the sandbags, and this is also very intentional. Me and Alex tested it days before of like, okay, how do we make it such that it's actually very hard to do this fast? Like it forces you to slow down, balance, recollect your steps, and then so the design of it was actually in a way that like if you went too fast, you would fall and you would step on the floor and you'd be forced to reset. And so this is an interesting way to get people who are basically very high in adrenaline, very like go, fast, but make them have to slow down and have to like now focus on your breathing, focus on your balance, tighten your core, work together with your teammates. That I think is very special because most races, if you go do a 5K, yeah, speed will get you to the finish line, right? I mean, you might get really tired, but in this case, you cannot do it fast because if you go too fast, you might be pulling, because you're still tied to a rope, you might be pulling your teammate too fast, and so everybody had to slow down. And I think the first group, they really learned the hard way because everyone else could see, and so they could start strategizing. Oh, when it's our turn, everyone take it slow, like one at a time. But the first group, they just instinctively tried to go fast. And I think it's a broader analogy to like how we treat life, like how we do anything. It's just when you first get excited about something, you might be prone to go really fast and sprint. But actually, that's the moment where you actually need to slow down and breathe and take a look at things from a different perspective.
Right. Yeah. You have this all very, very, very deeply thought out. Like very thoroughly thought out.
Yeah, I mean, dude, this is our life.
No, I know. Like that's why it shows in the care that you put into it and the thought you put behind it. Like it's not like people might look at it and be like, oh, they just threw some fucking sandbags out there. And like, nah, this dude fucking obsessed over this shit and created it.
Yeah.
Me and Alex, like, I mean, this might be kind of getting ahead of ourselves because we still have the puzzles. The game's
we're not
over.
done with the games yet.
We're not done with the games yet, but Alex and I, after every event, we do a debrief session of like how we felt the games went from the perspective of teaching, because these games are ultimately just it's a way to teach people without us having to actually like it's not a lecture, but it's like you teach yourself and you learn a lot about yourself through this curriculum of a 45-minute game. You learn so much. And so we're essentially trying to like look at it from the perspective of if we're trying to help people develop trust with one another, to put yourself in a situation where you have to help someone else who you can't just get through this alone. You need to build yourself up and build the people around you. You need to slow down. You need to, all these like kind of lesson plans, like you were saying, the 12 rules, the 12 steps, all of these lesson plans are ingrained within the games. And so from the outside, it just looks like, oh yeah, people running around lifting heavy weights. But actually, Alex put a lot of intention behind just like the motifs and the themes that people are going to get out of it. And again, we don't necessarily have it all figured out by any means. We're learning. But our perception of these games is that you can learn through these. This is how we would have learned through this. And so after the games, Alex and I will have pretty, I would say, we will have debrief sessions, but they're not always, it's not always sunshine and rainbows. We'll talk about like, hey, that game, I felt like this would have been a different approach to teaching this lesson. And so we have these like our car ride back, or it was an hour drive.
Hour drive.
The whole hour drive back, we're just talking about different moments that we differed on our strategy, like teaching strategy, but all with the intention of like helping people grow. So that lava river was a big topic of conversation and debrief for us.
Love it. So then the next step is after the lava river.
Yeah, so we had these block puzzles. So picture 6 blocks. On each side of the block is a different pattern.
No, you're missing one.
What, with the ball?
Yeah, you didn't throw the ball yet.
Huh?
You
Well,
didn't
yeah,
throw
I
the
was
ball
gonna get to the ball.
Oh, I thought you were
I was
going
gonna I was gonna get to the
Oh,
ball. I
okay,
wanted
that's right.
to
You're right,
contextualize
you're
the puzzle first, because
Right.
the ball you just get the card.
Right.
So you got these 6 blocks, and basically the gist is you got to organize your blocks so that the sides line up and make a certain pattern, right? The pattern is dictated by this little card that shows the overall scheme, the overall pattern. So in order to get that card so you could build your block puzzle, you had to take a medicine ball, 15-pound medicine ball, and you had to throw it about 10, 15 feet, knock over a bucket, and then under the bucket was a card. So all the teams go, they're tossed to this medicine ball, it's super heavy again, they're exhausted now, they've gone through the lava river. They're throwing it, they knock over the bucket, they get their card, and then they got to solve this block puzzle. And the block puzzle was hilarious because it's a pretty rare puzzle that nobody has
Right.
really done before.
And they're rushing.
And they're rushing, but it really requires so much patience and it requires coordination. And the other thing is, it's like a hands in the kitchen type problem. You know, not everybody can be cooking, not everybody can be working on it at the same time. So you also have to trust your teammates and say, okay, this is the best person for the job. This person's going to step up and solve this puzzle, and we'll kind of take a step back and just encourage them rather than everybody trying to lead at once. So that was a lot of fun to watch the guys try to solve those puzzles. You know, I think they actually did a really good job.
They
with
did a
it,
great
but
job.
I did.
Yeah, they figured it out quite quick.
I was
but
impressed.
yeah, I was very impressed because it's pretty challenging.
Yeah.
There's levels to it.
There are levels to
the
it.
level 1 puzzle is very basic. Level 2
Yeah.
and like the level 4s are actually like we tested all of these things and we would time it. You know, we would time ourselves going through level 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 4s would take us a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
And so we like they did it faster than us during our practice.
Really?
Yeah. And they had to, deal with the circumstances of the guy, like you said, 30 guys chirping them from the
Right.
sidelines, telling them they can't do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you tune out the noise?
Right? Let me find out a bunch of drug addicts did better than you guys. I can't imagine it.
We were happy to see it.
Right. Where do you guys see 5, 10 years? Where do you see Pro Friction?
We want to build schools. Pro Friction is something that we see it as a teacher, and it's teaching us a lot about ourselves, and we can see so much learning in our own personal development that we want to continue this path, continue gaining the skills that we need, but ultimately we want to build schools because we see that in society nowadays, the idea of learning kind of stops after you graduate from university, and for some people it's high school, but as an adult there's still so much to learn that once you get comfortable in your career, once you get comfortable kind of doing in your set way of doing things, you miss out on so much that life still has to offer. And not only that, but also you miss out on the opportunity to go help people who don't have the same opportunities as you. I think we can get so tunnel visioned on what we do in our daily lives that we forget that the world is so much bigger than just this. And so we want to build schools that are teaching adults. We call them misogi houses because misogi is a concept that once a year you do something extremely hard. And the way to define extremely hard is, number one, you have a 50% chance of success if you do everything right. So you could do everything right. You prepped the right way, you trained for it, you slept 8 hours, and you carb loaded the day before, but you still have a 50% chance of success. That's a hard challenge. Number two is you can't die because that defeats the purpose of wanting to grow and take the lessons you learn to then apply in your life if you're not there anymore. So those are the two rules. And every year we try to do a misogi of our own. This year we're going to Gobi Desert. Last year we did it, but this year is a whole different challenge. And also misogi doesn't have to be physical. It can be writing a book. Go take 6 months, go write a book. That's hard, right? Like it's 50% chance of success if you do everything right, and you're not going to die. So that qualifies. But it could also be, in a traditional sense, a physical challenge. And so for us, it's doing the Gobi Desert, not just the actual trek of a 70-mile tour or a hike across the Silk Road, It's dry. There's no water, no food out there. So you have to rely on the organizers that you're paying essentially to take care of you. But the misogi was also in the planning and the logistics and the buildup of this whole thing. We've been working on this for 9 months, coordinating with the team in Beijing and Hong Kong, trying to reach out to different groups here in America to want to participate, doing fundraising, sponsorships. The whole logistical process of doing this was new to us. We've never done anything like this before, but we decided to take it on as our personal misogi. So that's something that we want to inspire in people, that once a year, go to our misogi house. Go and you're going to learn lessons that you would never learn in your daily life.
Love this shit.
And
it's
I
good,
love
right?
that.
It's good, right?
And the person who inspired us, I mean, it's in a book called The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter, but he talks about this guy who founded a performance analytics company called P3 Performance. He works with a bunch of NBA athletes, different athletes from around the world, like Luka, Giannis, Kyle Korver, and the founder's name is Dr. Elliott. Dr. Elliott has been a personal advocate of Misogis his whole life. He hikes like Everest, and he'll hike, the Himalayas, and he'll do all these different challenges and make it really difficult for himself because he coined the idea of misogi. There's a history of misogi, but he kind of interpreted it in his own way. And he started taking athletes on these misogi journeys. So he took Kyle Korver, and you probably can talk to that story a little bit better than I can, but talk about this.
I don't want to butcher it, but basically, like, he and Kyle Korver had to take this boulder and they had to swim it like a kilometer. So they had to basically, what would happen is, like, they were swimming through this channel. They got to dive down, grab the boulder, move it 10 feet, swim up. And they would just alternate doing that. Heavy boulder for like a kilometer. It sounded absurd.
Damn.
Yeah.
And there's
rough, dude.
There's like
it's
boats
rough.
on the side, like medic team, like all
Yeah.
that, just to make sure that no one gets hurt. Because again, rule number 2. But that challenge, Kyle Korver attributes to his mental focus and his ability to face hard things and to overcome challenges. He attributes that mindset to his experience with Dr. Elliott. And so we're trying to understand, like, how do we make this more accessible? How do we make it so that, okay, why is the Gobi Desert interesting for us as a trip, as a journey? Why are we bringing 15 Americans to go into China? There's a few statistics that stand out to us as the people planning it. Number one is it's 65% of Americans don't own a passport. That means that most Americans, they have opinions and perceptions of the world outside of our country, and America's so involved in foreign policy, in foreign affairs, in different things around the world, but Americans don't really understand the rest of the world. We never leave the country. And so our goal is, how can we bring people from America who have never been to China, never been to Asia? Two people had to get their passport for the first time. Everyone had to get their visas. Go through this process of going to Asia and have all these preconceptions of, is China going to hate us because we're American, because they see that on the news? How are we going to get our flights there to Gobi Desert? You got to fly to Shanghai or Beijing. Then that's like a 17-hour flight, 19-hour flight, depending on your layovers. Then you have to fly another 5 to 6 hours west into the desert, into this small airport city called Dunhuang that nobody's ever heard of before. And then from Dunhuang, you stay one night, and then you take a 3-hour bus ride into the middle of the Gobi Desert, bordering Mongolia. And so you ask someone if they want to come to that, and they're like, no way, right? If I have pay time off, vacation from work, I'm gonna go to Bali, or I'm gonna go to Hawaii. I want to go do something like, something with less stress.
Yeah.
But if you go on this trip with us, I promise you, your life will change. You're gonna realize that going to a different country isn't as bad as it seems. You're gonna go to the Gobi. Everything else after the Gobi will seem easy. You're gonna go to Europe to go do a tour around the museums and stuff. That's gonna feel like nothing after you've gone to the Gobi. And so that is the type of breakthrough that we're looking to achieve in the people that are participating. And we hope to continue that mission 5-10 years from now. We want to be building schools all around the world that dedicate these experiences so that people can travel to these misogi houses, have a breakthrough in their life, and then they go back to their normal life with a whole different perspective. They're going to treat people differently. They're going to treat themselves differently. They're going to treat the world differently. And that's a worthy mission for us to be a part of.
Yeah.
And so that's our goal.
Love it. Dude, it's inspirational stuff, dude. Like, I love what you guys have created, the way you guys talk about it, the passion you guys got with it, the thought you put into it. It's fucking it's dope. I'm glad we got connected.
Absolutely.
What's next for you guys?
We got Gobi.
we got
That's
that.
it?
We got that. Yeah, we got that.
You're
coming up.
leaving at what, end of the month?
Yeah, May 21st, May 24th.
Content the whole time or what?
Content the whole time. Yeah, you'll be seeing it.
Video, or do you guys ever do stuff from your phone?
Yeah, it'll be from the phone too.
Yeah?
Yeah, it'll be everything. Yeah,
Wow.
try to get as much out of it as we can.
I'm very jealous that I'm not going to be there.
Yeah, hopefully we get you
You
at
were
some
this
point.
close.
Bro,
Hope-
I was,
hopefully-
as soon as you guys
hopefully we
said
get
it,
you
I
at
was
some
in.
point. I know.
No, you will definitely
Yeah,
at some
yeah,
point. I
yeah.
just can't get away right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm sure it'll work
My
out.
wife told me I have to take her to the fjords before I'm allowed to go to the.
Yeah.
She was gonna let me get. She was gonna let me. She would have let me go, but I just got too much going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm in.
I love it.
So after the Gobi, is there anything on the horizon? Or are you guys just getting through Gobi first?
Just getting through Gobi first. Yeah, I think that presents a pretty big obstacle for us. So we're
Well,
super excited to get through it and take these people through it. And I feel like what we really love is like giving people opportunities to get to know themselves more.
Yes.
And I think, I think about like Gobi for us, last year is like, when we were pushing that guy through the desert, all I could think about is like, I felt like I understood who I was in that moment. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm the guy who pulls the rope. I'm the guy who wants to help. I'm the guy who, sacrifices, himself. That's the man that I want to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm out of touch with that guy, and I get distracted by, everything on that goes in life. But you get that kind of moment of just being centered with yourself. And I'm sure like your 100-miler was that experience for you too,
Yes.
of just getting it. I'm the guy who takes one more step when it hurts. That's who I am. I'm the guy who's resilient.
And you take it with you for the rest of your life.
You take it
because
with you, yeah.
that's who you are.
Because because you've had that time to hear your inner voice and to be with yourself. And I think what we love is giving people those opportunities, but it's hard. It's not a fun process, to be in that moment where you can really hear your inner voice.
No.
That's why we always run without headphones, because we're trying to tap
too.
into that, and I'm sure because you're also someone who's trying to tap into that voice and to listen and to learn and say, hey, who am I? And go on that self-discovery process.
Right.
I think that's what a Misogi is, it's just an opportunity to get to know yourself. So
Dude, I went out and did like a run tour thing yesterday. I was helping some people out, and we had to do a 5K. And dude, it was humid. I wasn't warmed up. I like got there, I had to immediately start running. It felt like the longest 5K in my life. Like the whole time I wanted to quit. But I tapped into sitting there like, motherfucker, I've done ultras. Like, stop being a little bitch. Keep pushing. You're going to fucking finish it.
Yep.
And then I got done, and bro, like, it's a 3-mile run. But I felt fucking great. I'm like, I didn't stop or anything like that. And it's like, I'm an avid runner. It's that 3 miles shouldn't have been that hard, but it was just that moment of that day or whatever. But if you do that once a year, I mean, that's constantly being refreshed, bro. I did that 100-miler years ago, and I still tap into it every day.
Yep.
So, bro, it's stuff like this that can, you want to sit there and use a blanket statement like this can like change the world or it can change lives, bro. But like, think about how impactful that is to be able to change one life, to change the course of somebody's life, but to be able to give them this opportunity of a Misogi and for somebody to be able to actually go get that for themselves, bro, that's powerful shit. And that's not stuff that a lot of people are doing. So I support you guys 100%. Good luck in the Gobi. I'll be following along the whole time.
Yes, sir.
Get back and get rested up because we got some planning to do. We got shit we got people we need to help.
Yes, sir.
And we got more games that need to happen.
Yes, sir.
Supposedly, this is what I've been told. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's for sure, but I had a meeting about something, and I was told that our post got put in front of Lance Armstrong
Oh, really?
to show
Really?
Wow.
that they showed him what the
That's awesome.
Wow.
games are.
That's
It could have
sick.
not happened. They could have just been bullshitting me, but the
Yeah.
people I was around don't seem like those type of people. So,
That's dope. That's really cool.
so we'll see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
See what happens.
Lance Armstrong may have seen our faces, so let's go.
Hi, Lance.
But you guys got anything else you want to plug?
No, sir.
All right, follow these boys on Pro Friction. They are going to be out in the Gobi Desert by the end of the month. Thank you guys for everything we did. I could not be fucking more proud, and I can't wait to do some more.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Appreciate you.
All right, fellas.
Sean,
Thank you.
thank you, Sean.
Oh,
Right.
wait. Hold on.
Hold on.
You didn't press stop, did you? Now, I almost forgot. I have 2 questions to ask you before we go.
Mm.
Hypothetically speaking, you guys are walking out tonight for the UFC, we'll say middleweight championship of the world tonight.
Hi.
We'll say middleweight championship of the
Thank
world
you.
tonight.
Thank you.
Yep.
What's your walkout song?
You better go first.
Till I collapse, Eminem.
Let's go. I got it. Look. I got it tattooed on me.
Till I collapse.
I might do Business by Eminem.
All right. It's going to be an all Eminem affair.
It might have to be.
I like it.
Eminem.
Yeah.
And so you guys have come on, you shared a little bit about your past, a little bit about your story, about Pro Friction. But if you guys would, if you'd be so kind, one at a time, take a look into your camera. And if you throw out a couple I am statements off the top of your head that just describes who you are as people. So it could be anywhere from I am Pro Friction, I am loved, I am a brother, a son, whatever you want it to be. I would recommend throwing Pro Friction in there.
Yes, sir.
But go ahead.
Is that which one's my camera? I don't think this one's looking at
that
me.
one's
you're
yours,
center.
and then that one's his.
Okay. I am resilient. I am strong. I am loved. I am Pro Friction.
I am loved. I am compassionate. I'm resilient. I am Pro Friction.
And these boys are beasts too. It's